I'm here with you, not to pull you anywhere, not to explain what's happening, just to sit close enough that you don't have to hold everything alone for a moment. If things feel heavy right now, that doesn't mean you're failing. It doesn't mean you missed something important. It just means your body and your heart are carrying more than they were meant to carry by themselves. Some days the weight is obvious. Other days it's quieter. A tiredness that doesn't lift after sleep.
A fog where even simple choices feel demanding. A sense that you are functioning, but not fully here. If that's where you are, you don't need to fix it before listening. You don't need to understand it. You don't even need to agree with anything I say. Just let yourself stay. Sometimes the most honest thing a person can do is stop reaching for meaning and simply notice. I'm here, I'm breathing. This moment hasn't collapsed. That's enough for now.
You may notice your mind scanning for direction, looking for a takeaway, trying to turn this into something useful. You don't have to do that yet. If fear has been close lately, it doesn't have to be dramatic fear. It can be the low, constant kind, the kind that shows up as tension in your chest or a tightening behind your eyes, the kind that doesn't shout but never fully leaves. Fear like that doesn't mean danger is coming. It often just means your system has been alert for too long.
So if you feel guarded, you're not weak. You're responding to sustained strain. Let's slow the moment down. Nothing needs to change right now for you to be okay in this minute. Nothing needs to be decided. Nothing needs to be resolved. You're allowed to exist without moving forward. Jesus once said, very simply, I am with you. Not as an instruction, not as a promise about outcomes, just a present statement. That's all it is here too. With you in the breathing, with you in the uncertainty.
With you in the place where answers haven't formed yet. If your thoughts are scattered, that's fine. If they're blank, that's fine too. Sometimes numbness is not absence. It's protection. And sometimes quiet is not emptiness. It's the nervous system finally lowering its guard. If your body wants to exhale, let it. If it doesn't, don't force it. There is no correct response to being here. You might notice memories drifting in and out, or worries trying to reclaim attention.
You don't have to chase them away. You also don't have to follow them. They can pass through like weather. You're not being evaluated. You're not being prepared for something. You're not being asked to become better. You're just being accompanied. And if part of you is skeptical of that, that's okay too. Trust doesn't have to be manufactured. It grows best when nothing is demanded of it. So we'll stay here a little longer, not to deepen anything, not to intensify anything.
Just to remain steady enough that nothing is pulling you forward. There's no rush. Even the urge to keep going can soften a little here. You may notice how often your attention has been trained to lean forward, toward the next thing, toward improvement, toward relief. So staying still can feel unfamiliar, almost wrong. If that discomfort shows up, you don't need to correct it. Just notice that it's there. Nothing is being taken from you by pausing.
Sometimes the body holds tension simply because it hasn't been given permission to stop listening for danger. And when that permission finally comes, it doesn't always feel like peace at first. It can feel like emptiness, or flatness, or a strange quiet where you're not sure what to do with yourself. That's okay. You're not required to fill the space. If your breathing feels shallow, let it be shallow. If your shoulders are tight, you don't have to drop them. If your jaw is clenched, you don't have to relax it yet. Effort isn't needed here. There's a kind of gentleness that doesn't try to change the moment. It just stays present long enough for the moment to settle on its own. That's the kind of gentleness that's near now. If you've been holding questions like, why am I like this? Or, what am I supposed to do next? You don't have to push them away. Just let them rest beside you without answering them.
Some questions aren't meant to be solved immediately. They soften when they're allowed to breathe. You might notice a desire for reassurance, for certainty, for something firm to hold on to. That desire makes sense. But certainty isn't being offered here, and that's intentional. Because certainty can sometimes increase pressure without meaning to. It can make you feel like you have to live up to it. So instead of certainty, there's steadiness.
Not the kind that promises things will turn out a certain way. Just the kind that says this moment is not dangerous. You're allowed to feel unsure without being lost. You're allowed to be tired without being broken. If you've been carrying responsibility for others or for outcomes you can't fully control, it's okay to set that weight down briefly. Not permanently, just for now. Nothing important will fall apart if you stop bracing for a few minutes.
Jesus once spoke about rest not as an achievement, but as something you're invited into when you're worn down. Not because you earned it, not because you figured things out, just because you're human. That kind of rest doesn't push, it doesn't hurry, it doesn't ask you to feel better before it arrives. If your emotions are muted right now, that's not a failure of faith. It's often what happens after long periods of effort. And if emotions start to stir, that's also fine.
Tears don't have to mean something profound. They can just be the body releasing stored tension. You don't need to interpret them. You might notice how quiet presence feels different from motivation. It doesn't energize you. It doesn't inspire you. It just stays. And staying can be enough. Nothing is pulling you forward. Nothing is pushing you back. You're not being led anywhere, just accompanied, moment by moment. If your mind drifts, gently let it come back without force. If it doesn't come back, that's okay too. There's no requirement to stay focused. We're just remaining.
If it doesn't come back, that's okay too. There's no requirement to stay focused. We're just remaining.
If you're waiting for a clear signal that this is working, you may not get one. Presence doesn't announce itself. It just stays long enough to be felt. If you've spent a lot of time being strong, being responsible, being the one who keeps going, it can feel strange to not be needed for a moment, strange to not be useful. You don't have to replace that role right now. You don't have to become anything else. You can just be the one who is breathing.
If there's a sense of grief somewhere beneath the surface, you don't need to uncover it. Grief doesn't always want attention. Sometimes it just wants space. And if there's no grief at all, no sadness, no emotion you can name, that's not emptiness. It's often the sign of a system that's been stretched thin and is finally allowed to stop performing. You're not expected to feel close to God here. You're not expected to feel distant either. Closeness isn't being measured.
Jesus' presence was often quiet. People didn't always recognize it right away. It wasn't dramatic. It didn't demand reaction. It was simply there, near enough that people could lean if they needed to. That's the posture here. Not in front of you, not behind you,
beside you. If you feel like you've been carrying an internal dialogue that never shuts off, you don't have to silence it. You also don't have to participate in it. Thoughts can pass without being followed.
You may notice how the body responds when nothing is being asked of it. Sometimes there's relief. Sometimes there's restlessness. Sometimes there's a desire to get up and do something, anything. You don't need to judge that impulse. Restlessness isn't a flaw. It's often energy that hasn't had a safe place to land yet. You're not required to land it. If you've been trying to hold yourself together lately, it's okay to loosen your grip, not to fall apart, just to stop bracing so hard.
Nothing about your worth is tied to how composed you are in this moment. If you're listening to this while surrounded by noise or people or responsibility, you don't need silence to be present. Presence can exist even in chaos. It doesn't compete with sound. It doesn't require ideal conditions. It just stays available. You might notice the urge to evaluate yourself, to ask, "Am I doing this right?" That question can rest. There is no right way to remain. You're allowed to let this be plain.
Unremarkable. Simple. No insight required. No conclusion needed. Just this moment, held without pressure. If your breathing deepens on its own, that's fine. If it doesn't, that's fine too. Nothing is being corrected. We're not building toward anything. We're not trying to arrive. Just staying close enough that you're not alone with what is. We can keep letting things be simple. If there's a sense of time passing differently right now, slower or oddly stretched, that's okay.
When pressure eases, time often changes shape. You don't need to track it. You may notice how often you're used to monitoring yourself, checking how you're coming across, checking whether you're okay enough. That habit didn't come from nowhere. It often forms when someone has had to stay aware for a long time. You don't have to turn that off instantly. You can just let it loosen. If there's a part of you that's alert, watching for what's next, it doesn't need to leave.
It can rest nearby without being in charge. Nothing bad happens if you are not scanning the horizon for a few minutes. Sometimes the hardest thing to accept is that you don't have to be improving in order to be held. You don't have to feel hopeful. You don't have to feel grateful. You don't have to feel anything specific at all. You're allowed to be neutral. You're allowed to be tired without explanation.
If your attention drifts toward the past, toward things you wish had gone differently, you don't have to relive them. You can acknowledge that they exist without reopening them. And if your attention drifts toward the future, toward uncertainty or unfinished decisions, you don't have to solve them now. There's nothing pulling you forward in this space. The voice of Jesus was often quiet enough that people had to lean in to hear it, not because it was secret, but because it wasn't competing.
It didn't pressure. It didn't rush. Sometimes it was just a steady presence that allowed people to notice their own breath again. If you feel distant from yourself lately, that doesn't mean you're gone. It often means you've been focusing outward for a long time. Returning doesn't require a dramatic moment. It can begin with something as small as noticing that you're here, right now. You may feel a little more grounded, or you may feel nothing at all. Both are acceptable.
This isn't about achieving calm. Calm can be another form of effort if it's forced. This is about not adding more weight. If your body shifts position, that's fine. If you need to move, you can move. Presence doesn't demand stillness. It adapts. If you're listening while doing something else, you don't have to stop. You don't have to give full attention. This voice doesn't require center stage. It can sit quietly in the background, like someone nearby who isn't asking for anything. You don't have to respond. You don't have to agree. You're not being shaped or directed, just accompanied. If there's a sense of relief that shows up and then fades, that's normal. Relief doesn't always stay. Sometimes it comes in waves. And if nothing feels lighter yet, that doesn't mean this isn't working. It just means your system moves at its own pace. There's no finish line here, no conclusion waiting, just enough steadiness to remain. You might notice that the space around your thoughts feels a little wider now, or maybe the thoughts are still crowding in. Neither one means more progress than the other. Presence doesn't measure itself by outcomes. If you're used to carrying a quiet sense of responsibility for how things turn out, it can be unfamiliar to let that rest, even briefly, especially if you've learned that staying alert is how you stay safe. You don't have to unlearn that here.
You're just not being asked to use it right now. There's a difference between letting go and being dropped. Nothing here drops you. If your chest feels tight, you don't need to breathe into it on purpose. If your stomach feels unsettled, you don't need to calm it. Bodies settle best when they're not being managed. If you've been living with a low-grade sense of urgency, even when nothing is immediately wrong, it can take time for that urgency to realize it's allowed to pause.
Sometimes it lingers. Sometimes it fades slowly. You don't have to hurry it along. You may feel a subtle grief for how long you've had to stay strong, or for how rarely you've been able to rest without feeling guilty. That grief doesn't need to be analyzed. It doesn't need a story. It can just be acknowledged as something that exists. Jesus didn't rush people through their pain. He didn't force clarity. He stayed long enough for them to breathe again. Sometimes that was all that happened.
And sometimes that was enough. If you feel like you've been carrying questions about purpose, direction, or meaning, it's okay if they feel distant right now. Meaning doesn't disappear when it goes quiet. It waits. And it doesn't need to be chased. If there's a part of you that worries this stillness could turn into avoidance, you don't need to argue with that part. It's trying to protect you. You can let it know you're not disappearing. You're just resting in place. You haven't stopped caring. You've just stopped pushing for a moment. That distinction matters. If your attention comes and goes, that's fine. If you miss parts of what's being said, that's fine too. Nothing important is being hidden in the words. The words are just here to keep company. If you've been longing for reassurance that you're not alone in this season, it's okay if reassurance doesn't arrive as a feeling. Sometimes it arrives as the simple fact that you're still here. Still breathing. Still listening. Still held. No direction is being given. No identity is being assigned. Just a steady nearness that doesn't need anything from you. We can stay like this as long as needed.
Sometimes when pressure has been constant, the absence of pressure can feel strange, almost like something is missing. If that feeling shows up, you don't need to fill it. It's not emptiness asking for noise. It's space remembering how to be space. You might sense a slight vulnerability in not bracing. That makes sense. Bracing often becomes a form of safety. You're not being asked to drop it completely, just to let it rest its hands for a moment.
If your thoughts return to responsibilities waiting for you later, you don't need to push them away. You also don't need to rehearse them. They'll still be there when you're done. Nothing here is trying to take you out of your life. It's just giving you a place to stand inside it.
If you feel emotionally flat, that doesn't mean something's wrong. Flatness can be the nervous system leveling out after intensity. And if emotions surface suddenly, that doesn't mean something has gone wrong either.
It just means space made room. You don't need to respond to what comes up. It can come and go on its own terms. Jesus often met people without rushing them toward understanding. Sometimes he said very little. Sometimes he said nothing at all. Presence was enough. If you've been carrying an internal sense of, "I should be handling this better," you don't need to counter it with positive thoughts. You can just let it be a sentence that doesn't require an answer. Not every thought needs a reply.
You're allowed to rest without earning it. You're allowed to pause without falling behind. If your body shifts again, or if you feel the urge to adjust your position, that's fine. Stillness here is flexible. There's no correct posture for remaining. If part of you feels watched or evaluated by yourself, you don't need to fight that either. Self-observation can relax when it's not being corrected. Nothing is grading this moment. You're not being shaped into something.
You're not being prepared for a reveal, just staying close enough that nothing is demanding movement. If you've been longing for peace but wary of it at the same time, you're not alone in that. Peace can feel unfamiliar when life has been loud. You don't have to trust it fully. You can let it sit nearby without committing to it. This moment doesn't ask for belief. It doesn't ask for surrender. It just offers nearness that doesn't push. We can remain here quietly.
We're nearing the end of this stretch, and nothing needs to change because of that. You don't have to feel like something is concluding. You don't have to gather anything up. This can remain unfinished. If there's a faint sense of re-entry beginning to form, that's natural. The awareness that life will continue after this voice quiets. You don't need to prepare for it yet. Nothing here is asking you to take something with you. Nothing is being handed over. Just the memory of not being pushed. If you've been used to moments that ask you to do something with them, it may feel strange that this one doesn't. That's intentional. Not every moment needs to be productive to be real. You might notice a subtle clarity, not in thoughts, but in absence of noise. Or you might notice nothing at all. Both are honest outcomes. If your body feels slightly heavier or more grounded, that's okay. If it feels light or unchanged, that's okay too. There's no ideal landing here.
Jesus once said, quietly, "Peace I leave with you." Not peace as a condition, not peace as a result, just something left behind without instruction. That kind of peace doesn't demand agreement. It doesn't insist on being felt. It can simply exist alongside everything else. If part of you wonders whether you'll be able to access this steadiness again later, you don't need to answer that. You don't need to store it. Moments like this aren't meant to be held.
They're meant to be experienced and released. Nothing is lost when they pass. If you feel a return of alertness or readiness, or even mild tension, that doesn't undo what's happened here. It just means your system is waking back up. You don't have to stop that. You don't have to cling to the quiet. Quiet knows how to leave without being chased. If you're feeling neutral, that's fine. If you're feeling tender, that's fine too. Neither one needs explanation.
You're not being sent out with instructions. You're not being directed toward insight. Just allowed to continue with one less layer of pressure, maybe. And even if that doesn't last, that's okay. Nothing here depended on permanence. We'll stay for one more part, not to wrap things up, but to let them end naturally. There's nothing to finish. This can simply taper off, the way a conversation does when no one is trying to conclude it properly.
If you notice yourself becoming more aware of your surroundings now, that's fine. The room you're in, the sounds around you, the weight of your body where you're sitting or standing. You don't have to move yet, but you can if you want. Nothing is being interrupted. If there's a small sense of steadiness left behind, you don't need to hold on to it. If there isn't, you haven't missed anything. This wasn't about arriving at a feeling. It was about not being pulled.
If you return to your day carrying the same questions you had before, that's okay. Questions don't mean failure. They mean you're still alive inside them. If you return feeling a little less braced, even briefly, that's enough. Jesus didn't always resolve things for people. Sometimes he just stayed long enough for them to stand again, and then he let them go. Not away from him, just back into their own agency. That's what happens here too. No dependence is being formed.
No voice is meant to replace your own. This presence fades on purpose, so you can leave lighter, not attached. If you need to sit for a moment after this ends, you can. If you need to get up and move immediately, you can do that too. There's no preferred response. You don't owe this moment anything, and you don't need to come back to it. It did what it needed to do by not asking for anything at all. You're free to continue.